Come get some. Beware,
IGN Game Scoop.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. I'm joined now by Jose Otero, Associate Editor Per Schneider, and Sam Claiborne.
Hey, everybody.
We're here to talk about the Wii U. The Wii U is a year old now, and now the other next-gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, are out. We have a little perspective on the Wii U. Plus, I just got one.
Wow.
Nice. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, well, so I recently got a PlayStation 4 and a Wii U. I'm not playing my PS4 at all. I'm just playing tons of Wii U. And that's not a knock on the PS4. I like that system, too. There's just not a lot that I want to play on it right now.
Mario hooked you?
Yeah, I was waiting for there to be enough games. So now there's Mario, Pikmin, and Wind Waker HD.
There you go.
So I have all those three games. Those are amazing.
There's a couple other Mario games, too, if you get bored.
I know, yeah, I know. So, yeah, I really like the Wii U, but things do not look good for this console.
That's right, yeah. Out in the marketplace, there's some rough waters ahead, I'd say. You know, if you look at they're trying to sell 9 million units by the end of next March. Is that right?
Yeah,
like
the fiscal year.
This fiscal year for Nintendo, and they're not close.
And Nintendo President Satoru Iwata said a lot rides on this holiday season, sales-wise, which he directly said will determine what they do with the Wii U next.
Yep.
Specifically, like that platform, like maybe they'll 2DS it. You know, maybe they'll take away the gamepad.
Like?
No gamepad? Maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, the gamepad is cool, though. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do.
Yeah.
So Nintendo has to clearly drive the install base, right? That's been their message. Every time they get Reggie on a camera, that's all he talks about. But it's true, and they're trying. I mean, look at this fall's lineup. Look at how they have these bundles that you can get pretty good deals and get something like New Super Mario Bros. U, New Super Luigi U bundled in with the system. They're also bundling controllers with Nintendo Land, since that doesn't come with the Wii U as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're trying to entice consumers. I think the weird thing for them, though, right now is, like, you still don't have a lot of games that prove why the gamepad needed to exist in the first place. And I think for some people there is that awkward disconnect, like, okay, these are great games. Mario is a great game, for example. 3D World's fantastic, but the gamepad does nothing really for it outside of a handful of stages that you're forced to use it.
And honestly, I mean, I personally don't think that there is going to be a killer app where everybody's going to say, now I get it, right? And I think the advantage of having a second screen has been eroded over the last months, right? Like you've got smart glass, you've got multiple devices that you own at home, like your iPad anyway. You have the 3DS with the two-screen setup, so it's not like there's not this kind of aha factor and novelty that you had with the Wii controls, right?
Exactly.
And so I think they're going to downplay the gamepad. I think that's the big shift. Is going to be they're going to have to announce some serious titles and support. Probably embrace their family audience more than they have, in the last 12 months, and really kind of push ahead with cheaper prices too.
The problem with doing that is that then the result is a console that has third-party games, if it's lucky, that are just not as good looking as they are in PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Like right now, we could all be playing Assassin's Creed 4, which I'm really enjoying on my PlayStation 4 on the Wii U, but since I have a PlayStation 4, there's really no reason for me to go.
The solution is not ports, though. I mean, I'm not. The Wii U is not going to sell because it also has Far Cry 4 or an Elder Scrolls game. It's going to sell on the back of the Nintendo franchise. The problem is there just aren't enough to go around, right? We just got a real Mario game for the first time on this platform.
Well, and will Nintendo go after third-party exclusives like they have in Japan? I mean, they've been aggressive in Japan. They nailed down stuff like Monster Hunter, for example. That's only going to appear on Nintendo platforms. At least 4 did. The Frontier Online is showing up on PS4.
Dragon Quest as well.
Dragon Quest 10. Dragon Quest, that brand also only shows up on Nintendo franchises, but those are franchises that are big in Japan.
Yeah, they sell consoles in Japan.
Exactly. They don't. They need like some big third-party only Wii U only games here in the
Metroid.
States.
Yeah, Metroid is. I mean, the games are obviously awesome, but they're not system sellers. We all want Metroid, right? But it's the challenge ahead is, can you get software that shows that the Wii U is a different platform? It doesn't mean that it has to use the gamepad in any unique ways or really be that different, but by the merit of the brands that you can find on Wii U, right? If all Sonic games are on Wii U, if all Mario games are on Wii U, can you find something from third parties so that they're not as sparse, right?
Yeah, like, it's interesting because Brain Training and Nintendog sold the DS. Wii Sports sold the Wii. Those are casual games that none of us would really kind of go back and play a lot, I don't think.
Wii Fit also sold a lot
and Wii
of units,
Fit, of course, And there's been nothing like that that's been a success on the Wii U. And they have Wii, Fit for Wii U, but it's just, you can't make the splash a second time with that kind of thing.
They aren't even doing many, like, what are the downloadable games? Like the eShop games, right?
Well, they've been ramping that up a lot. So Earthbound is a system seller to, the 20 very loud Earthbound fans on IGN.
Not 20 loud Earthbound fans, but I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah,
I love Earthbound.
You've got the Street Pass games, right? Like they released a whole slew of games in one package, basically.
They're experimenting with free-to-play also. That's a thing that, free-to-play, but with casual style titles like, Wii Sports Club and Wii Fit. But it's a weird position because as far as the indies go, you don't see them going out of their way to kind of wrap up these really, big indie developers or just indie developers that have a track record and a name. Like imagine a Cappy game on Wii U. Imagine, some other studios.
World of Goo was a huge success story last gen, and that was a Wii U exclusive for a time.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the challenge, though, again, there is that a lot of those games already have a home, right? Like Nintendo could aggressively go after iPad developers, probably get a fair amount of those games on their platform if they offered really favorable deals to these guys.
And we haven't even talked about Minecraft, right? You've always brought that up. Minecraft was a huge miss by Nintendo.
That is a big miss. Yeah. Get the Lego guys and the Minecraft guys to talk, and then you've got a great Wii U system seller, right? That is Minecraft at this point is a family game, right? It's 10 to 16-year-old kids playing it, probably not our demographic anymore. But yeah, the interesting thing you said, DS and Wii had system sellers. I more fondly remember the GameCube because of some of the great games that were on there. Yeah. Obviously, the other platforms are way more successful, and I could see the Wii U occupying the same space as the GameCube, where you get a few amazing games and you're happy with those, but you're never going to get this breadth or this kind of huge success that opens it up to more.
And as long as you have the 3DS being the big success, then you're going to be okay. I remember Nintendo had the 3 pillars strategy before, with the Game Boy, the DS, and the GameCube out at the same time. If the 3DS proves to be the popular system that it is right now, and also has awesome games, I'm actually not too bad with the Wii U kind of going going
Yeah,
I'd be. Although I'd like to play next-gen Zelda on any system.
No, I don't agree. I mean, I like a Nintendo platform in my home, right? Just playing a game like Wind Waker and realizing how brilliant this game still is to this date, right? You obviously want more like that, and then playing Link Between Worlds, like imagining a Wii U title of that caliber.
Well, and even like Super Mario 3D World is proof that Nintendo can make fantastic games in the HD era. It's not like they don't have a track record for that stuff. I also, to their credit, I think that pushing day-and-date digital the way they've been doing it is really smart. The consumers who want that game at midnight on East Coast time, who live on the West Coast, can grab that game. I mean, it's really smart for them. I think their storage solutions could be a bit more elegant. Relying on us buying hard drives is not really a solution. But to them it is. But we'll see over time of how that's going to work out for them.
I mean, I think that besides obviously the big franchise like Mario, Zelda, and let's not forget that Mario Kart is coming out next year. Mario Kart is Nintendo's biggest franchise, bar none, and the second biggest franchise, of course, Mario. The third biggest, Smash Brothers, Pokemon. All these are huge games, and some of them are definitely coming to the Wii U. So that's going to help. The 3DS launched really to a tepid reception originally, right? And we all said, ooh, is that system going to make it? And it did get this uptick, and it sold really well on the back of price drops and really strong first-party support. So I could see something like that happen. The other thing is maybe Nintendo is going to get up out of the chair and do something like they did with Capcom in 2002, where they announced the Capcom 5, right? Exclusive games for the system. I think the choice of the Capcom 5 back then was not the ideal type of software to really get the GameCube to success, right?
Yeah, sure.
But can they maybe sign on an EA Activision, what if Skylanders was exclusive, or, games like Disney Infinity, more family targeted games could be exclusive to the platform. We'll see.
So is going for the wider audience, the family target, really the only way they can stay afloat, you think?
I think so. I think because they have to, this is...
The brand is built on this, right?
It is older hardware. The Wii brand itself, not the Nintendo brand necessarily, sounds like family and accessible and broad gamer rather than hardcore gamer. And, I mean, the lineup is not hardcore, right? You'll see games like, Batman, Need for Speed that came out. They're not going to sell that well out there as they do on Xbox 360 or PlayStation.
Speaking of the brand, I don't think the system could have a worse name to kind of attract audiences and stuff like that, especially when they're releasing things like Wii Sports and Wii Fit. I can't imagine how many people are going to get those games for their Wii this holiday season
just
and not
as a
understand
mistake.
that.
I'd love to see how those games perform. Yeah, just to see if it's catching on a second time, or if there's a consumer out there who's going, oh, I remember that from the Wii. Let me download that. You know?
And that said, the Xbox One is probably going to have some similar problems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the both platforms, in my opinion, are going to have, that first year is always a rough first year. In Nintendo's case, it felt rougher because you didn't see those third-party games. You didn't see Tomb Raider. You didn't see BioShock. You didn't see GTA, which was the biggest game of 2013, regardless of whether you loved it or not.
Yeah.
And that does spell doom for some people. It's like, well, these are huge, important, like, Game of the Year titles that you need on your system.
And that was the window in which the Wii U could have made those games look slightly better, or it could have used its gamepad to make the GTA map very accessible. It could have done stuff like that, and it is sad to see it miss out.
I still think those would have been a brand mismatch, right? Like Grand Theft Auto, I don't think would have sold millions on the Wii U, even if that version was slightly better. I think the Nintendo Wii brand specifically and Grand Theft Auto don't mesh. We saw a Grand Theft Auto game tank on the DS before, right?
A good game too.
Yeah, it was a good game.
And like that system had a huge install base. But
did anyone want to go back to that? To be fair to, like, okay, it was a well-made game. I don't know. I feel like anyone who, at least from some people I know, would look at that and go, well, it's kind of a step backwards, whereas you have these full 3D graphics on current systems.
Think about to an era of GameCube in which there is a definitive version of a game on the GameCube. And I think about Prince of Persia was just the best on GameCube. Resident Evil 4,
Time Splitters,
sure. Time Splitters, Beautiful Joe. There was a time in which Nintendo would have, you would say, you know what, I can get a GameCube because I want to play Mario, I want to play Zelda. Also, like these third-party games, they look the best. Sometimes they looked best on Xbox, sometimes more people had them on PS2.
It's true,
but the GameCube was a lead platform for these games.
But they still didn't do what those franchises did on other platforms, right? Like a very expensive Metal Gear remake on the GameCube did not magically turn that system into a premier choice for PlayStation fans, right? And I think that is the Nintendo brand. Just when you hear Nintendo, you don't think of those types of games, and I think they, playing to the strength of that. I think Nintendo needs to go out and needs to get franchises that actually match the console's image, which. Maybe they are doing. We don't know.
But I mean, when they announced the system, the sort of one of the promises that I remember being was, "Hey, we want the hardcore audience again. We want your attention again."
That's a promise to us, not really to their shareholders or the market out there, right?
I don't know. It just part of gaining back that sort of a base is getting those third-party games. And even though you're right, there is sort of a brand mismatch, and Wii is totally a brand that is family-friendly and safe. That's still sort of a promise that maybe started out strong with like EA ports. And I mean, Assassin's Creed 4, to its credit, Assassin's Creed 4 is on Wii U. Call of Duty is still on Wii U. Like some big titles are making their way there, but they're still missing the boat on new titles that get announced, which some are escaping me right now. But I mean, something like Dark Souls 2, which has a hardcore fan base. Something like
a Tomb Raider, the remake,
Tomb Raider
or something
sequel,
like that.
Even Strider, the HD remake of Strider, or whatever that Strider game is not coming to Wii U.
To be fair, I mean, they do have Bayonetta,
that's right,
which they picked up,
which
the
is
publishing
awesome.
Rights to. They have X, which looks amazing, right? The role-playing game. So there's some games that are not exactly kind of like a family game.
They published Ninja Gaiden 3 on Wii U at launch. Who would have thought Nintendo would publish a Ninja Gaiden game?
A great example. Didn't work, right?
No.
So,
Well, but it was Ninja Gaiden 3, let's be fair. That game had its share of problems.
It was not a great game. Yeah. Analyst Michael Pachter has an interesting quote. On the Wii U, he says, "They steadfastly refuse to consider that the product is not interesting to consumers."
Yeah.
That could be part of the problem. I mean, marketing.
Yeah, I think when you ask a general consumer about the console, what does the Wii U do that the others don't do, I think people will have a hard time answering. Somebody who owns it and has played it will tell you Miiverse is actually like one of the most positive communities online, right? Like I wish our comment section, like some guy is like talking crap about your jacket right now down there, right? I wish our comment section was as positive as
even
Miiverse,
when Metroid can't crawl. They're pretty friendly.
So I think they're very unique things on there, but to Pachter's point, it's like most consumers wouldn't be able to tell you why they will get the Wii U itself. Now, to me, though, the reason is Mario, is Zelda, is Metroid, F-Zero, all the Animal Crossing, Pokemon, all these franchises that you can only find on the Wii U and the 3DS.
Yeah. And I think, releasing Mario when they did this late in the year was a really smart move because you had two platforms at launch, but, launch lineups as they go can be, sort of hit or miss. You don't always get the killer app. Certainly, I don't feel, in either Microsoft or Sony's case, there is a killer app for either of those platforms yet. That'll come over time, guaranteed. But putting out Mario drew a lot of attention, I feel, and folks are saying, yeah, Mario is not just great. 3D World will be remembered as one of the best Mario games of all time, I feel.
Nintendo's been around a long time.
Yep.
They've had their ups and downs, right? When they found great success with the Wii, it had been, 10 years since they'd found success like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll scrap this like the Virtual Boy and replace it with something like the Nintendo 64.
I don't think so. I think too much is riding on this one. But I mean, it's a good point, right? Nintendo to me is like the crazy toy maker. You never know what's going to happen. You know what they'll come up with next. And clearly, out of the big three, they're the ones that were trying to do something different, right? Like the Wii U with the Gamepad is very, very different from the design of the consoles that have more traditional controllers. The Wii was very different. GameCube was the one time where they were really on even grounds with the other guys, but then couldn't compete on software like online connectivity. They did have a handle, which was new.
Yeah, that helped get around.
Yeah, but it's a company with a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, a lot of innovation too. Like when they do something, you saw motion control become a thing for the other consoles last generation, right? Everyone jumped on that bandwagon after Wii.
And it didn't work very well for the other guys, right? Like so, the Wii actually succeeded at something, and the guys who are following weren't able to do it. And I'm sure it's going to be the same, right? Like with a gamepad, you will have functions that you always use automatically with your games, whereas like few people will actually do the smart glass integration of the game, right? Like in Need for Speed where you spam people or,
Yeah, off-TV play is awesome. I don't know if you've played around with it, by the way. I meant to ask you earlier, have you? Like, it's pretty cool because someone else can do whatever they're doing.
Do they just need that commercial where, like, Penelope Cruz is playing on her TV and then her kid wants to use the TV, so she switches to the gamepad and gets in bed and plays? Like,
and it is a huge advantage. I think it's been lessened now that people have so many TVs in their home, right? I think more people have more television sets as they're upgrading. Yeah, but it is still an advantage for families. And I think, we kind of roll our eyes at the cheesy commercials that Nintendo sometimes does. Like, Dad, here's a reason why you should buy a Wii U. Number one, right? They're terrible commercials in our eyes, but, for kids and parents see that and they're like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, maybe their competitors have it right. Maybe something like remote play or off-TV play as an optional feature versus until they prove what this controller can do and why it's important. I feel like the idea to make it remote play as an optional thing, which, don't get me wrong, is more expensive, was still smarter on their competitors' part. Because at the end of the day, it's something you could cash into if you own those devices. If you don't, well, you're not losing anything yet from the gameplay experience. They just have not come up with a gameplay experience outside of Nintendo Land and maybe some games in Game & Wario that prove what exactly the interplay between two screens can really do.
Yeah, but I still feel like none of those were features where I felt like, oh, I can never live without this. Right?
I agree. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's the difference, right? Like, you cannot pull off bowling or tennis the way that the Wii did, right? Like, you couldn't imagine that game without those, whereas I can imagine every single Wii U game without the screen in some way. Like, sure, the map is super convenient on the screen, right? Like, you get so used to these things, but it's you could have a pop-up.
Or item swapping in Wind Waker, or there are good uses for it.
It's funny to think that the three consoles that are out now all have gimmicky things that came out with them. There's a gamepad, there's a giant eye that looks at you in your living room, and then there's the PlayStation 4, which has a little touchpad on it, stuff. But it's really the libraries of these games that I find myself basing my recommendations of systems on right now. And it's strange because this fall I'm recommending the Wii U. I'm actually recommending the 3DS. People don't have it. But the Wii U, just based on its library right now, and that if that can maintain through next Christmas, which is kind of like what the 3DS did. It got a good library going with Mario Kart and Mario 3D Land, and then this year just killed it. Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, it just keeps on going. If they have 1 year like that a year from now, I think it's going to be... I think it's going to have some staying power.
And that's where the third parties come in again, right? Like, if it's not about getting every single game that's on the other platforms on the Wii U, and it is weaker hardware, right? It's not going to compare favorably to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, but it is powerful hardware. We're not talking about Wii versus the Xbox 360 and PS3, where you looked at the games and you said, oh God, you had standard def versus high def. This is a different story. The Wii U actually will look really, really good for the next year.
For the right type of games.
Like you're saying, like Wind Waker really looks amazing.
Oh yeah, and we kept like the RPG alive in some sense, the Japanese version anyway. I mean, Last Story and Xenoblade were two of like the best RPGs released in almost a decade, and that was on Wii. I feel like
Nintendo published those.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, well, one of them anyway. The last story was someone else. But I bring that up because maybe hardcore genres can thrive and survive at least on Wii U. They just have to find the right way to position it or entice these third parties and say, hey, we'll co-publish whatever. We need to help. We need to help out to keep our platform going.
Lego Minecraft, man, I tell you. That's all it takes.
It'd be huge.
Lego Minecraft. I love it.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will continue following the Wii here at IGN, the Wii U here at IGN, and talking about it here at IGN Gamescoop.